Has liberalism won in America? Last week, radio commentator Rush Limbaugh put forth that because many Americans are ill-informed, liberalism has won the ideological struggle in this country. Mr. Limbaugh believes that the left controls the education system, pop culture, and the media. And he's not wrong about those situations. But I do not believe that liberal thought is now dominant in the USA. However, the country's changing quickly into an entitlement society. It's not so much that apathetic Americans are embracing the tenets of the left. It's just that they're selfish, and they want money for nothing, as Dire Straits once sang.
Well, that was Fox News host Bill O'Reilly last night. Just days after radio host Rush Limbaugh got a whole lot of attention, saying that for the first time in his life, he feels ashamed of this country. Limbaugh later expanded and explained those remarks, explaining that he isn't so much ashamed of the USA, but he is concerned, he says, that liberalism has won the day in America. Take a listen.
The purpose of this program has been to create as large a body of informed voting citizens as possible. And what we've been profoundly successful at that. The left has beaten us. They have created far more low information, unaware, uneducated people than we've been able to keep up with. The left, with control of the education system, control of the pop culture, movies, TVs, books, music, we've just been outnumbered.
Joining me now, Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Plante, who is host of The Chris Plante Show. Leslie, obviously Rush is not a Democrat and sort of sweepingly attributes the numbers that we've seen in the country in the last election and the way the polls go on some of these issues to large swaths of the American public being uninformed and uneducated and just wrong in his view. Is there danger to conservatives and the Republican Party in that sort of, dismissiveness?
Yes. I mean, we saw that with one number in a very small video when Mitt Romney was running for president. We see that with the GOP, the old world GOP, refusing to look at the truly changing demographic of America, of the American voter. And we see that now with them reaching out to the Hispanic community. But I have to say, as a liberal Democrat, I don't consider in the United States, which I would love to have more united, that there's a contest between left and right. I think that many Americans are a bit fiscally more conservative, even if they're Democrats, and there are Republicans, especially in the state here in California, that are more liberal on social issues. And I think that's why we see so many more people identifying themselves, as we saw in the last election, as independents, because they do have pieces that they like from both platforms. And so this divisiveness and this shame that Rush has, I completely don't agree with. And one more thing, Hollywood. I'm sitting 20 minutes from Hollywood. We the people control what is put out in the movies and on television by what we want to watch. You want romantic comedies and you stop going to Jaws and Godfather and Star Wars, that's what they're going to put out because they want to make money. It's box office sales, so we control that. Well,
but I think he's speaking more to the power brokers in Hollywood who have a lot of dough who make campaign contributions. I mean, it's not that the movies have some huge liberal slant so much as the power brokers who make them. Chris, I want to ask you, though. So Rush, he's a little dismissive of millions of Americans there. But to be fair to him, the context in which he was making those remarks was spending and this debate we're having over the shock and horror that some are having that we're about to decrease by a little the increase in spending that we are going to have this year. We're still going to have more this year than we had last year, but just a little bit less. And people are apoplectic about it. And Rush, like a lot of conservatives, cannot understand why more Americans aren't begging and pleading the people in Washington to do something about the spending crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rush was addressing micro and macro. The current fiscal cliff debate, which involves reducing spending by 2.3%, and it's causing the apocalypse, the Omegeddon that we're all about to experience, apparently, at the end of the week.
I hadn't heard that.
It's going to be Mad Max beyond Thunderdome if we reduce the rate of increase in spending. And look, when it comes to whether we're winning or losing, about 40% of Americans still self-identify as conservative, and about 21% self-identify as liberal. So why is it then that the liberal storyline carries the day so frequently? We have a problem with the news media. We have a problem with the general media. There are, you know, the mass media, television, movies, and so on. There are no conservative movies. There are no conservative television shows.
That ignores the last election results. I mean, President Obama won by almost 5 million votes, 4.9 million. So it's not just the people in the media are liberal. I mean, the American electorate is looking more and more left. And the latest numbers by Gallup, which did a poll of 9,000 people before the election, which, by the way, this led to some of the confusion on the polls, and that showed this electorate was +3 Republican. Gallup, poll of 9,000, that's a huge poll. But now they do a poll that says 47% of Americans identify as Democrats or independents who consider themselves Democrat versus 42% who are Republican, who lean Republican. So something feels like it's shifting, Chris.
Well, you know, I mean, there are a lot of things that go into that. And this is the kind of stuff I talk about every day. A lot of people don't want to identify with the Republican Party anymore because they've had it with the Republican Party not standing up for republicanism and conservatism. So that's part of it. Millions of conservatives didn't show up and vote on Election Day. That's another part of it. Also, if you say you're not a Democrat, you're not a supporter of Barack Obama, there's a price that comes with that, a social price. You're called all kinds of terrible things like racist and other things. So when it comes to the poll numbers shifting, you know, that's a discussion that we could go on and on about. When it comes to whether the left is winning, they have like an invading army taken over key nodes in our culture that, you know, that literally an invading army or a revolution would take over. You take over the radio station, you know, military things. You take over the radio station or the TV station so you can control the message that's getting out to the people. You take over education so that you own the next generation. And there is a lot of evidence to support the suggestion that is the case, and the left owns these institutions that are key nodes.
Well, what of that? I want to get
the,
Leslie to weigh in on that, and on O'Reilly's point, which is he doesn't believe the electorate is uninformed. He believes they want things, and listen, it may be human nature to want things, and they want to vote for the person who's going to give them things.
Yeah.
I really don't feel that's how, based on my talk radio audience, the voters vote. A lot of people vote on party, name recognition, a key issue, one key issue that's essential to them. What I have seen a lot of, and I do live in California where there will be more moderate Republicans than some other states, but I have seen people that who are Republicans, and I would agree with Chris, have strayed from the party, but I disagree with him as to why. One of the reasons I constantly hear is the extremism. I have many Republican friends who disagree with me on most things, but we do agree with regard to the Violence Against Women Act 100%, or gay marriage, or choice and funding for things like Planned Parenthood. Yeah, so the social issues is where I'm seeing America, in a sense, move to the left. And I think that's where our overlap is more socially, and we're seeing the fight even in Washington fiscally. When you speak of polls, 2 weeks ago, 72% of Americans said they wanted that the deficit was the most important thing. Pew Research, same poll this week. You know what Americans said? Oh, but we don't want to cut anything except a little bit of foreign aid.
They always, if I had a nickel for every time I say, oh, yes, that deficit, I'm very concerned. Oh, don't touch anything that concerns me, though. Just the rich.
They want,
Can we go back to the rich again? All right, good panel.
We want our stuff.
Yeah. Leslie, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.